What's up, gang, and welcome back to Red Dead Redemption 2. Before starting things off, let me first say that no story spoilers will be shown in this video. Now, with that in mind, we have another amazing day for Red Dead Redemption 2 news, and this time around somebody managed to leak a full list of all of the trophies that exist within the game. The leak itself looks pretty legit as it comes from somebody who has done this before with games such as Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and it covers trophies for the main story, the gameplay mechanics, as well as finally the online. And I will completely avoid the story related one for obvious reasons and instead fully concentrate on the gameplay as it contains a lot of very cool non-spoiler details. I'll also briefly mention that the list itself is quite extensive and some of these achievements seem to be quite hard as well as time consuming, so we are looking at the very least 100 hours of gameplay here, possibly even more, which is amazing news for me, by the way, as I plan to spend a lot of time in this game anyway. But without wasting any more time, let's get started with the first trophy on the list, which is called Gold Rush. And according to the info at hand, you unlock this by earning 70 gold medals in the story missions, and at the very least this indirectly confirms that the story contains a minimal of 70 missions that you have to complete. And in case you didn't know this, much like how it was in GTA 5 for example, at the end of each mission you will be given a medal that can range anywhere from bronze, silver to gold, and this all depends on the time you have completed the mission in, as well as other side objectives. So if you complete it with all of the objectives and in the time frame needed, you will obviously get a gold medal, and this is going to count towards the achievement itself, which kinda makes me believe that this is probably going to be one of the most time consuming trophies that exist out there, because you can't simply always get gold in your first try. You at the very least will have to repeat some of the missions a few times before doing so, especially when they get rather complicated. So yeah, just putting it out there. The second one, called Collector's Items, requires players to complete all of the collectible strands, and there are definitely a lot of collectibles in Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, without knowing any context here, it sounds like this mostly refers to secondary items that don't necessarily fit in the apparel or guns category, so I'm thinking something in the range of the equivalent of the toys from God of War 4, which you could find randomly scattered around the world, or the backpacks from Marvel's Spider-Man, like all of these collectibles that each had their own story and a little bit of info on the lore and so on. So that's what I'm thinking is going to apply to this achievement as well. Coming up at number 3, we have landing a hand that requires all optional honor story missions to be complete. With Red Dead Redemption 2's honor system in mind, this most probably refers to the side missions that give players certain moral choices throughout them, and we kinda had a glimpse on these from the previews that we had like the past month or so, and it's generally stuff like choosing to kill or save a certain person and generally picking different choices that will later on affect your moral compass, so to speak, so either positive or negative. And there are in fact multiple achievements and trophies tied into the honor system, as you will soon come to find. Friends with Benefits requires players to complete a companion activity in each camp, and there will be at least a handful of places where camps will be set, as the Vanderlyn gang will relocate at various points throughout the story, and with only one activity per camp requirement, I would assume that this is one of the easier trophies. You just need to do it once per camp and you'll have to repeat it 5 times or so depending on how many times they relocate. Hobby Horse comes at number 5 and it requires you to play all of the mini games within Red Dead Redemption 2. It might sound easy enough to you at first glance, but there are quite a lot of mini games in the game. We already saw poker, we saw dice, 5-finger fillet, and there might be even more. It also doesn't clearly specify if the minigame itself, once started, must be finished to count, or you just have to try it once and then drop mid-game to still have it count towards the achievement. Well, I guess we'll wait and see for this, but I would really like a clarification, and until then we'll just go with what we have. Take from the Rich is the next trophy on the list, and as the name implies, you need to rob or loot a rather large sum of money, in this case $250. The requirement here reads for $250 takeout, meaning that you'll need to get all of this sum at once. I also don't believe it applies to heists, as it clearly mentions robbing and looting, so either mugging people, burglarizing their homes or uncovering secret locations that contain such valuable items. Luckily enough, there are a lot of places that might hold riches for you to steal, especially St. Denis, which comes to mind right now because it's probably one of the richest cities within the game, and there are definitely a lot of rich people in there for you to steal from. Gift to the poor is the exact opposite of this, and it's done by donating $250 to the gang thieving box, and you'll most probably do this anyway to increase the gang's morale and uncover more secrets, but it's not clear if the $250 donation has to be done in one single batch or if you can do it in incremental donations. I would assume that it's just like the previous one, as in you needing to give a full $250 stack on one go. So yeah, this is probably what you'll need to do in order for this trophy to count. The Pony Up trophy can be done by spending $5,000 across all of the shops that exist in Red Dead Redemption 2. This is most definitely not going to require you to complete it in one go, and it's most probably going to take into account every penny you spend on all of the shops. So like $5,000 will probably have to be spread across all of the shops and not have $5,000 on each shop, because that would definitely be too much. I mean, that's the equivalent of millions of dollars in today's money, and with that insane level of customization that the game has, as well as the wide range of shops that exist within the game, you will eventually spend much more than this anyway. So yeah, this is something that eventually you will be able to complete. Extreme Personality trophy is another one that ties in with the in-game honor system, and it simply requires you to reach either the maximum or the minimum on your honor meter. The game gives you plenty of opportunities to be both good or evil, and from the previews I've seen, it takes quite a little bit of time to reach these extremes, especially if you're planning to like be fully dishonorable, because even killing cops doesn't influence it that much. I mean, it just tilts it a little bit, so you will have to be quite a criminal to bring it at the minimum. Possibly will be the same with maximum as well. Western Stranger is trophy number 10 on this list, and it requires completing 10 stranger mission strands, and like the previous games, stranger missions can now vary from something easy to rather complex with a lot of backstory elements in it, like for example saving an escaped slave that points you towards a rich home you can rob. This would be falling into like the easier category, but there are definitely more complicated ones, and since it talks about strands, I believe that there's going to probably be like chains of this. I'm not really sure how to put it, but it definitely sounds to be a little bit more deep compared to how it was in the previous games, but only 10 of them doesn't really seem that big, and eventually you will do them anyway, as they tend to happen around you regardless. Bountiful requires the players to survive 3 days holding a bounty of $250 in all of the states, and this is probably the craziest one I've seen on this list. This means you'll have to be quite a criminal to not only pull off such a high bounty, but also have it in each and every single state that exists in Red Dead Redemption 2. Errand Boy Trophy is completed by delivering 5 camp companion item requests. This is done by interacting with the camp NPCs, mostly by standing at the campfire and listening to the stories they tell. In turn, they will also reveal secrets to you and items you can fetch, but I believe there are other more direct ways you can interact with them to just point you out towards what items they desire. But generally speaking, you will need to be quite in tune with your gang in order to have these revealed to you, which means that you'll have to play quite a little bit of gang management to do so. Self-Sufficient Trophy is next, and you can do it by crafting 30 unique items in the story mode, and once the story mode is done, most probably you won't able to complete this anymore, so you better do it before that. And there are definitely a lot of craftables within the game, from bullets, arrows, clothing pieces, and so on. There are definitely a lot of choices to pick from. Zoologist is another hard one, and it requires you to study every single species of animals while in the story mode, and there are 200 species in the game, all different from one another, which means that you'll be doing this a lot. And yeah, you'll probably have to kill these specimens as well, because from the previews I've seen, you can only study a specimen once you kill it. I'm not really sure if you can do it before, so it would be cool to do that, but I am pretty certain that you can only write it in your catalog once you already killed it and examined it. So yeah, this is why I'm saying that. It was this big achievement, reads catch a fish weighing at least 16 pounds or 7.3 kilograms, and in order to pull this off, you're most probably going to need a very good equipment as well as the proper bait. I would also assume that different spots within the game world will reward you different types of fish, and not every little pond in the game will be able to spawn something like this, so you'll most probably have to find a huge body of water where you can find a fish that weighs 7.3 kilograms, which kind of means that you won't be able to do this anywhere. Like, there has to be a great spot for fishing in Red Dead Redemption 2, because otherwise I wouldn't see why this achievement even existed. It also kind of means that a lot of the species in the game can vary in size, which is a good thing because, well, that adds a lot of variety, which is also very welcomed. The locked and loaded trophy is done by upgrading each available component for a single sidearm or long arm weapon, and according to a very recent update from Rockstar Games, every single part of a weapon is fully upgradable, like barrels, grips, sights, and so on, and you'll want to generally do it anyway, as it both improves the stats and make the weapon more personalized to you. And last but definitely not least, there is a trophy that most people would expect to exist in the game anyway, and it's named Trusty Steed. Its requirement is to reach max bonding with your horse, and to finish it you'll need to pay extra attention to it to not have it killed, otherwise you will have to start the entire process from the very beginning, as in acquiring a new horse, starting the whole bonding process once more, and that would definitely be more time consuming. But yeah, these are some of the achievements that have been leaked. Not all of them are story spoilers, some of them are a little bit, but I know some of the people who watch these videos are sensible to that type of stuff, which is why I refrained from showing them. But I will post a link in the description box for those who do want to check them all. You probably already saw them. Nonetheless, they are pretty cool, and it pretty much indicates that this game is going to be playable for a very long time, without even including the planned DLCs that exist and the online as well. But in the meantime, make sure to aim that like button if you enjoyed this video. Also subscribe to the channel for more awesome Red Dead Redemption 2 content, and tell me what else you want me to cover on this channel. Whatever Red Dead Redemption 2 related content you want, just name it in the comment section. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one, so peace out.